Knowledge is that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is that tomatoes don't go in fruit salads.
So what is this? What's the difference between like this and, for example, Shark Tank?
Help founders pursue their vision faster and smarter than they would alone, or help them fail faster, right? Did you teasing it out? Stay tuned, 20 more minutes.
Stay tuned, and then click here. We're gonna figure out something to click on.
But most entrepreneurs are over 40. Most founders, they were like, we're just not interested. 6 months later, they left and their company became as a potential client. We have a very collaborative culture. Are you saying that like your work is done always collaboratively? In a collaborative way, or are you saying we're okay with being interrupted? Because both are collaborative. Okay. Everybody, including me, wants two things to thrive. They want to have impact and they want to belong. I think if you pitch a vision, the numbers come. If you lead with money, then you're chasing validation the entire time. I want them to buy into the vision. In every job, there's a certain percentage of the job that you enjoy, are passionate about, and or good at. If I'm leaving this job, I want that percentage to grow. One part discipline and one part delusion. If there was a linear path to creating a business, everybody would do it.
Our guest today has an astounding position to usher in new product and business ideas and developers and founders. He is the manager of engagement at a startup incubator known as SVA, located in Richmond, Virginia. Is that right?
You got it right.
Okay. He has talked with and surely probably about many founders and developers of new things, countless aspiring people who are trying to bring something to market. He has been probably a guiding light, spotlight, sometimes light at the end of the tunnel. So we'll get into it. And Kip Hart, thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So what is this? What's the difference between like this and, for example, Shark Tank?
Shark Tank. Well, hopefully it's not, doesn't have the pressure of like, if I need this money or we're not gonna go take off. But I would say we're here, our tagline is to help founders pursue their vision, their venture faster and smarter than they would alone.
Okay.
And a lot of times we say, or help them fail faster, right? I guess you could say Shark Tank sometimes the way that they talk to their contestants.
If they don't end up like funding somebody.
Right. They're helping them see like, oh, I don't see this is a great hobby, or you're a entrepreneur. There's some dynamic of that in our experience.
Entrepreneur. Yeah. I can see that.
Like I want to be in the ecosystem more than I want to actually build a business.
Okay. It is a really interesting ecosystem. Like, what are one of the things I was going to ask you is like, people here in this facility, talking to them and being in this environment, it's been really thrilling because of that excitement.
Yeah.
Just you ask them one question and they could just go on and on and on and on. And it's a different type of feel than working at like a big company or a typical job. I mean,
yeah,
I've been at some jobs when people are, let's go everybody, come on,
yeah,
let's do it. Even when they are making close to minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of one of the, getting people to that level or close to it is kind of one of the reasons for like our little brand.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you say is like the primary demographic or I don't know, phase of people that are doing these like an incubator? Is it all retired people? Is it all people usually have full-time jobs? Young folks?
Well, that's the great thing about like startups in the startup ecosystem is like the spectrum is so wide in all the questions you just asked. Demographics, all demographics, age,
really?
Lifespan. I think a lot of people who are outside and are looking in are just aware of the startup world, or they just watch movies and or documentaries. They think most founders are 25-year-olds like rubbing nickels together and to chase this dream. But the reality is most
the garage,
in their
working in
garage,
the
yeah,
garage.
and most entrepreneurs are over 40. Most founders. So I think it's maybe just more of a better story or a better compelling. Like, look at these young kids doing awesome things, and whereas the established people are staying in the corporate jobs. But yeah, I think it's if there was a linear path to creating a business, everybody would do it, right? But from life situations to even like, what are you building, right? Is it a SaaS company? Is it a CPG company? Is it like a consulting with a tech support side to it? And how to scale any of those companies?
Yeah. Well, it seems like that if you are, the advantage of that would be, I mean, being like one of the over 40 folks who is your work history has given you like so much experience. Whereas like in the tech world, you know, the famous like Steve Jobs movies or something like that, or just following along with some of those folks when there is like a whole new industry, a whole new tool coming out that they could see. I mean, that's different, but the nitty gritty of how any one business, regardless of tech or not, works gives you, experience that you might not have at like 20.
And also like that experience like helps you see a pain point or a problem that someone in their 20s may not have the experience to do. Now, that doesn't mean that a 25-year-old couldn't see those things from the outside world and create an innovative or a more efficient product to accomplish something. But I think a lot of people, I mean, I think about this one founder right now. His name's Brian. He was in this industry for a long time, and even within the industry was trying, and within his current job or with his past job, trying to be innovative. And the industry just wasn't having it. They were like, we're just not interested, or like we like the way that it is. And so he's like, he got him and his two buddies, and they quit their jobs, and they're like, all right, well, we'll do it from the outside. And like 6 months later, they left, and their company became as a potential client because this is what they're focusing on. So yeah. So like, and that so those people see it from the inside because they're so close to it, and they see like what real money could be made. Where maybe on the
how big is that? I mean, if you just see something come in, like, what is this invoice for $172? There's another one. There's another one. What is that? It does make you see. I've always thought that like it's amazing how good people can get at something if they start getting money for it. Just a little, like, my God, that guy's good. Oh, once you start getting money for it, let's hammer it out. Wow, that's cool. You have talking to people like that. You've probably given like the big framework. You got into it with me about like one of the talks you recently gave. We'll get into that. This is like possibly valuable information for somebody who is a developer, interested in developing, interested in being a founder, has an idea. But first, I want you
teasing it out. Teasing it out. Stay tuned. 20 more minutes.
Stay tuned until the end, and then click here. We're gonna figure out something to click on. Click here. I did have questions though, so people could get to know a little bit more about that. Like one of the things is you were telling me that as you were choosing like your focus of study in school, what was that?
I think I went into school wanting to choose something that would provide me an opportunity just to have fun. So I grew up in a church, and we did a lot of like service projects. We'd go to different parts of the country and build things, and from having an impact in the world and doing it within a community of people, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I would love to do this all the time. Like, I would love to have it impact people's lives, and I'd love to do it with others, right? And so I I went into college. Actually, I went to college to play golf. Honestly,
Is that right?
Yeah. So I was playing golf in high school, and I was like, hey, like this would be kind of fun to play golf and do school. And I ended up liking the social aspect of school more than school and golf. So like me and both kind of had their own issues. But I went there and I chose religious studies just because I was like, that was my world. That was my experience. And I was like, maybe if I do this, it'll position me to go and work at a church, not because of religious reasons, even though that was important to me. And that was it. But it was like, I could provide this opportunity to have an impact and belong. Right. Mm-hmm. That actually grew my mentality I would say even my vocational thesis of that everybody, including me, wants two things to thrive. They want to have impact and they want to belong, right? And I was seeing that actually it wasn't so much religious studies or church, or it was just like wherever I wanted to go, that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And so I saw that play out in a number of different jobs. And I've spent my vocational career helping others succeed, and I love it. I've never been like, oh, when is it going to be my turn to be the person to be helped to succeed? I was having more fun, having an impact, and helping others succeed, and believing that the sum is always greater than the parts. Like, I may not have the answer, but I think in my network or in your network, we can find it. Mm-hmm. And so, again, impact, belonging.
Yeah, so huge. Okay. And then at some point, the business thing came up.
Yeah. So I left college and started working for a nonprofit, and it was doing leadership and spiritual development on college campuses. It was where I cut my teeth in leadership. It was where I got to meet a wide range of people. Mm-hmm. So then my craft was able to be adapted to not just one particular sect or one particular demographic outside of 18 to 22-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And I loved it because like every 4 years, I kind of had to rebuild my chapter, my business, or my infrastructure because there's a 100% attrition rate. And so as I was progressing in my career, I was still developing college students, but then I started developing other people in my company to help go to other colleges and do it. And I was finding myself more and more drawn to setting up and doing staff development. Mm-hmm. And so
you could like basically create other versions of what you were doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so like I would say, I'm not trying to make you be like me. I'm just trying to help you give the scaffolding to do you without with these other research. So I would even like when they'd go to another college, I would like give them access to my Google Drive and just like, hey, this is all the stuff that I built over 10 years.
Oh dear God. Okay.
Save this, use this so that you can actually do your job in the way that you would do it and not like spend so much time like coming up with policies and procedures or like programs.
Save them so much time.
So much time. So much time. And so at the end of that, I was there for 16 years. At the end of that time, near the end of that time, I wanted to move into a role that didn't exist, which was director of staff development. Created the job.
I like that. I've worked in like a couple different positions that didn't exist. There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
And I think I see a need for this.
And it's very entrepreneurish of what I would never have said that back then. I just thought I was trying to find a job that I liked or do another job where more percentage of the job is something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so,
well, was there any like, when I was doing that most recently, actually, I mean, it took like, my God, like a whole second job to prove that there was a need for this non-existent job. There's an
always uphill battle.
There was so was there like uphill battles?
Yeah.
And you got to be cool through that.
Yeah, and I knew the industry. I knew the company. I knew some of their cultural realities, and so like I created the job description. I went on their website and looked how they formatted their job descripof or their jobs, and so it just like copied it verbatim to the point where when I presented it, they were like, one of the questions that came out was, "Is this a job in this company?" And they're like, "No, I made it up and just formatted it this way." So I took it to my boss's boss. She was all about it. This is great. This is let's do this. And not only do I think this is a need we have, I think you're the right person for it. And I was like, oh, this is going to happen.
Okay.
And she's like, well, I don't want to make a unilateral decision. Let me take it to the leadership team so we can, which is fair. Like that, she should do it. She totally do that because you need to create buy-in, and because it would just make my job harder if she wanted it, but no one else did. And the two things I remember that came out of that meeting was, oh, I don't know if this is a full-time job. And the other thought was, this job has a lot of authority. And I was like, I just feel like contradicting statements. Now that could maybe not be, but it also helped me see like that maybe they might not have had they had not seen yet the need for the development piece. And I think, and that was not their fault. I think there was more, I was in that.
Were there some numbers in it or what? Were there some numbers in this thing? Like when you pitched it?
No, because
really? Okay.
I think if you pitch a vision, the numbers come, and if you could pitch a good vision and you tell a good story, it's like, if you do it well, if you do it well, they're like, man, this is worth it.
Yeah.
But like, we can't afford it. so like, then the negotiation comes in. But like that can come later. If you lead with money, then you're chasing validation the entire time. You're chasing value all the time. Like, oh, I want a job that pays me X, right? So now the question is like, what are you doing that provides X value?
Yeah.
And I want them to buy into it. I want them to buy into the vision.
Yeah.
Do you believe this is worth it? Right? Do you believe that this would make us a better company? Now let's talk about,
is it something you want to do? Would you like this to be a part of your company?
Is it even a priority of your strategic plan? If it's not a priority in your strategic plan, it doesn't matter how valuable it is. It's just not a priority. Yeah. And then I'm having an uphill battle the whole time.
Yeah. And man, making it so obvious to yourself that is a need, that you can just present it like, look, this is what I want to do. This is something I've discovered through all this work.
This is what customers are asking for. Customers, employees. Yeah.
The employees. Yeah, that's so interesting. I've done it 3 times.
Yeah.
Like done my job and then basically done another one to see what was, that's actually a huge thing with like where I am like at this moment. The first time I tried it, it was this like website / app thing I wanted to build to help at my other company.
Yeah.
They said no. They were like, thought that would be really cool, but we have no idea how to do that. Get out of here.
It's like basic customer discovery. Everybody likes it, but nobody wants to pay for it.
Yeah. The second time they were like really, really close, but I took it as my responsibility. I didn't pitch it. I didn't sell it the right way. So that's a constant thing.
Yeah.
Always working on that. The third time it made it happen. They were like, boom, new position. We want you to do this. And which is better than like, if they're like, we do need that. We're going to hire someone.
Yeah.
Like, no, I want it to be me.
Yeah. I think it's probably happened in every one of my jobs. And I think that's more attributed to like looking at the whole and wanting the whole to be like, like a rising tide rises up all ships. The entire. Okay. And so like, if you're passionate about where you're at and you're passionate about the impact that not just you want to have in the niche that you have, you're innately going to be thinking about like, like we could also do this. It may be me and it may not be me. It may be a product, it may not be a product, but like, I think that's a reflection of someone who is bought into a broader impact to where they're at. And so there's some advantages. I think larger corporations do this a little bit where if I put you in your space and I want you to be like acutely amazing at this thing, like I don't want you to think about anything else, right? I do think there's a level of expertise and like laser focus impact, right? But I would want those people to be pursuing that with at least the awareness of those things, right? Awareness of like the bigger picture. Well, what is this all going towards, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What about, does that apply to, because sometimes I find it interesting to like for people if they don't like their job. Like if you don't like your job, Have you ever had a job that you didn't like?
I think there's never been a time I've had a job where there aren't parts I don't like.
Parts you don't like, sure.
I have a theory that I kind of reference this a little bit. Like in every job, there's a certain percentage of the job that you enjoy, are passionate about, and or good at. Hopefully, all those things are true. And if you ever do a job transition or the next job that you should think about like, okay, 40%, 30% of this job I'm in right now, I'm loving. Mm-hmm. I want to leave. If I'm leaving this job to do something else, different industry, different, it doesn't matter. I want it to be that percentage to grow. Every move.
Grow that percentage. That percentage
should always, it's unrealistic, I believe, to be like, where's the job where 100% of the time, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's probably out there. And
hey, you got to have a little bit of realism with everything. And sometimes that makes people understand if I'm talking to an employee, somebody I've been managing, or somebody I'm pitching that's way higher than me. And like, I need them to know in order to continue that like there is some realism with this. I know I'm not saying that you can go from this job that has, that you're doing 90% of what you hate. Let's take that 10% and make it grow. Soon you're going to be like just skipping to work every day. Like, no, but you can take some pride that you're working towards that and dive into that.
It's kind of like it's like the dream house mentality. Like rarely, if ever, do you get your dream house, your first house.
Right.
It's like either you stumbled into some money or inheritance.
Yeah. There's a term, starter home.
Yes, right. I mean, but it could be but the other thing is it could be your dream home for where you're at. So when my wife and I, we bought our house in Churchill, you're like, this is it. It was a brand new build. We were buying it through, what's it called? Better Housing Coalition. And so they created grants to help first time home buyers. And so like, it was like just checking all these boxes. Like we have a new house and it's perfect for size. And like, so it was a dream home.
Yeah.
But it wasn't going to be our forever home. So and I think the jobs are the same way.
Dude,
the jobs are the same way.
That's
right?
a good way to say it.
Right. Like, this is a perfect job for where I'm at. It's okay to say that I might not be here forever, but like, I'm going to suck the marrow out of this job.
Suck the freaking marrow out of it.
So that it sets me up and it makes me think about what I want. I want to do a little bit more.
If people can tweak that, go from like the focus of what they don't like to being like where I'm at, that can be really significant, I think, because it's perfect for where you're at now if you find the thing to work on, whether that's doing this one part of it more, whether it's asking for stuff that's beyond doing everything.
Upskilling in anything.
Upskilling in anything.
Just like, or even just like, there's some soft skills or leadership skills that you can be aware of by reading a book, but you can't have the wisdom to implement without experience, right?
Yeah.
It's like almost the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Okay.
Right? Like knowledge is the sheer data, right? Wisdom is the data plus insight. It's what does it say? Knowledge is that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is that tomatoes don't go in fruit salads. And so you're like, I want to be more knowledgeable, but I also wanted to move to wisdom, which requires experience, vision, insights, right?
Yeah.
In a data analytic or in a business world, it's like, how can I collect the data? Now that I have the data, how do I analyze it? And how do I analyze it in a way that leads to insights? And then how does the insights lead to action or KPIs or OKRs?
Yeah. What's an OKR?
So KPI, key performance indicator. OKR is objective and key results. Like, so if KPIs are like the steps to the goal, like we need to, these things will help us know
results. The R is results.
Yeah, and then OKR is like innately this is what we want to.
Okay.
It's like a fancy. I didn't come the first 16 years of my life. I was in nonprofit, university world, and I was using just like vision, goal, steps. Like it seems like very easy, but I learned all these acronyms in the business world.
Okay. Yeah, I like the acronyms. Now I'm going to say this one thing in case I say it better, and then I'll edit when you said it like out.
Okay.
So knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, not a vegetable.
Correct.
Makes you smarter because you know it.
Yeah.
Wisdom is knowing that tomatoes don't go in fruits.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I love it.
It's like so simple, but it's like, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And then with that, you just suddenly realize that there's
don't get too freaking focused on like what you freaking know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And now it's important to know.
Yeah. Realistically, try to know a bunch of things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like put it in the rock tumbler so you can like smooth things out and make this knowledge into something that's smooth and slick.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Jim. I had a couple other questions. We're running short on time.
Yeah.
First of all, you were talking to some like founders. I saw you walking some people through the other day, and you like looked at a couple people and like you knew what we did. You knew what somebody else did. Like, I was like, oh my god, you go over the roster.
The thing is, whatever I say, they don't know. They're like, oh yeah, they do this, and they're this. Right. No, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, dude. So nice. That was cool to hear.
Yeah, I think a fun part of this job that I have right now is that I can dabble in a bunch of different industries with a bunch of different types of founders at a bunch of different stages, and it's beautiful. Versus I was in a startup before this, and it was fun. It was awesome.
That you were part of it, so you were trying to make that thing succeed.
Yeah, so I worked for them. I wasn't a founder.
Okay.
They're actually a startup Virginia member. They're Fringe. Great company. Look them up. They're doing
Fringe.
Yep, FRING. They're doing personalized lifestyle benefits. I'm not going to give you the pitch because I want to save time, but look them up. They're legit. They're thinking what benefits that companies could be. Okay. Beyond the health, dental.
Oh yeah, you've told me about that.
So, but working there, like I was doing leadership development, HRBP stuff, product innovation, and again, like always being aware of all the things going on and dabbling and everything. But near my end of my career there, I was wondering, I've done a lot of things in the last 18 months. I don't know what the next year looks like. But then I came here and recognized that like if there's this revolving door, or this constant like testing of my brain of like, all right, how do you speak into this company at this stage, at this founder, who's this SME, subject matter expertise? Yeah,
there's probably so many different ones. And like you said, there literally is nothing linear about it. No. There's not like that, what does this person need, I imagine. What keeps people, do you think, away from taking action? Like what prevents them from taking action on like an idea?
Risk. I mean, I hate to be like, it's simple, but like I think, again, it goes back
like to the people that like this whole thing because they're like, man, I got ideas. I think it'd be cool to pitch my idea, but they never like do. What do you think keeps them?
My colleague and I, we've been using this phrase a lot lately, that the best entrepreneur or founder is one part discipline and one part delusion. And you can see when a founder leans towards delusion too much, right? They like lose grasp of reality and they're like, oh, we evaluate our company at $25 million. And I was like, and you don't have a customer yet. So you're still trying to figure that. So like the belief that they're going to change the world, which is what you needed, right? Like you need this, you need a level of delusion to do this, right? Like to move it, to believe that your mousetrap's better, right? But you also need the discipline, which I think I would pepper in humility there to like get help, ask for help, seek out mentors, seek out other people who are one step or two steps ahead of you. So like, and I think that like I am in awe of these founders. Like they're so courageous. Like I don't know if I could do what they're doing, right? Just because like I like stability, I like predictability, which is funny for me to say because I'm like just all over the place. But I do like I want to have the stability in order to be all over the place, right?
Sure.
And I think a founder has to like kind of hold those things in tandem, right? Like, which is why like the two things that founders want the most help on is capital and customers, because that creates stability to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Yes. And what I do is I vacillate between delusion and discipline.
Yeah.
And instability and stability. And it can get.
And that's probably a more accurate depiction of
usually
what
within the course
like,
of a day.
Rarely does someone just stay there like, oh, I'm here all day. I can pull from both and I'm good. But like, you have a great conversation with maybe you're selling some fintech company, a tech product, and you have a great conversation with Capital One or I don't know, some other big bank, and you're like, this is gonna be amazing, like they're gonna buy it, and so like you start leaning towards delusion. Let's build this thing. We'll figure out the money later because it's coming. Or you get shut down.
Yeah.
And you're like, and 2 or 3 conversations in a row, people are like, I don't get it. When is not something? And then you're like, oh, I better like hedge some of my bets now. Let me. Like,
it really seems like you are really on the inside of this without actually, with having a different role than actually doing your own different ideas. It seems like you're kind of inside my head. I also so there's some people that do go forward with it and they find themselves in a place like this. And they don't know how that they're going to pull off like the next step after the next step. I also like the people that just go all in.
Oh yeah.
They just are like, boom. And, like my brother's he's kind of like me. He's always got ideas, but he's got a different personality. He can like just charge and everybody will get behind him. And, so when he had an idea a few years ago, he was just paying money, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm buying
lots of withdrawals, not many deposits.
Yeah. We were talking to developers to create this. Like he hadn't had experience in building like an app or anything like that.
I love that though.
But he was like into it for like several $1,000s, like $10,000 to this one developer, and we're on the phone with them, and I didn't know that world at that time either, but I wasn't spending money on it. And then all of a sudden, after all that money and all that effort, it was like, no, we're going to cut our losses there. You know what I mean? Like, so I like both of those things, and both of them, I'm sure have a history of both working and not working.
Yeah. For sure.
There's one part of this process that's called an accelerator, one that's called like an incubator. Some people aren't sure what the difference is. What is if somebody says startup accelerator?
So just to give you this is me just trying to be a humble is that like I'm unique because I'm outside. I'm an outsider into the world, into this ecosystem. Like I wasn't a previous founder. Yes, I worked at a startup before, but at the company, I didn't even know they were a member here. I was just doing that. I didn't know this wasn't even a thing. And so coming into this job, I learned a lot I was continuing to learn a lot about what makes this ecosystem a thing and what are the different dynamics. And please, everyone stop creating more acronyms. It's a hard thing, but I would just say a simplistic thing is accelerators are finite and very time bound, and are like gasoline on a fire, right? I'm trying to just dump enough accelerant to get this way beyond where it is right now as fast as I can, right? And that could be in mentorship, that could be in knowledge base, and it could be connections. It could be in connecting you with investors. But a lot of times it's connected to like capital, right? Like, because like it takes capital to build a business, build a startup. And so like most accelerators have this capital dynamic to it.
Okay.
Like the gasoline, like I believe like this is going to happen. I'm going to give you the knowledge base, but I'm also going to, of like that gas makes fire bigger, but then I'm going to give you the gas and go with it.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, one of them is time bound and accelerates.
Where incubator, I mean, it's kind of in the name. I mean, if you don't incubating something takes time. It's a process. It's not hype. It's a buzz.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn.
And you don't know when it's going to hatch.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? But you know that it's going to hatch.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Hey, that's good to know.
Right. Like, yeah, like you're like, okay, like, and it may not hatch the way you want it to. Right. Yeah. Or when you want it to. Right. But like, you're not doing this because you don't believe it's not. Yeah. Right. I will say you're in it. If you're watching eggs, you're like, are we just, is this really going to happen? I think for me, what's helped me better understand our incubator, because I would say it's hard to like, you can do broad brush definitions of accelerators and incubators, but like everybody's saying they're doing it a little bit different, and they are. Sure. But this analogy really helped me with Startup Virginia is thinking about a greenhouse. Okay. Is that you're growing
tomatoes, aren't you?
Yeah, we're growing some fruit, but not putting it in salad. But we are creating the environment for things to grow. Greenhouses don't grow plants. They create the environment for plants to grow. And so the better we can create an environment for plants to grow, the more healthy, the bigger, whatever, the more fruitful kind of thing. And so if the incubator analogy doesn't really land on somebody, maybe it's because, even if it's just because we're so deep into the ecosystem that it's just another word. Sure. I like the greenhouse analogy because it also frees up incubators from saying, I'm building your company. It helps founders understand the incubator is not building your company. It's creating the environment for your company to grow. So like by doing that.
I like that a lot, man. Thank you. In my experience, not knowing, like it wasn't that long ago that I was like listening to everybody I could explain those differences because I didn't know myself. And the accelerator program here is called.
What do you mean?
It's called Idea Factory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say probably like again, my learnings is I don't know if in the ecosystem world they would call Idea Factory an accelerator. Okay. I would say it's a finite time-bound program to help very early stage like ideas like napkin. I was just talking to my buddy at a bar 2 weeks ago, and I think we might have something. Like, what should we be doing? Okay. What's the next step? Because there's no money connected to the Idea Factory. Okay. But there is, there's also, but then we potentially have access to.
What I really liked about it was accelerating even towards that result of like super early stage. You're going to learn something. You're going to learn something really significant, even if that is we're screwed. Different idea needed. I think you're going to learn a lot from that on that little timeline.
For sure.
Like you said.
Yeah, and the Idea Factory is great too because it's a very myopic in what its goal is. Like we want to help people build their business, their ideas based on insights, not assumptions, as it relates specifically to customers. Right? If you're gonna have a business, you're gonna have to have customers because otherwise don't do it. Yeah. So if the one last thing I'll say about that is if you don't do the work of you might love your idea, your mom might be like, yeah, I'll totally help you, and I'll be your first customer. Like that's not customer discovery. That's love. Yeah. That's customer discovery is more about like people you don't know who look at your idea and are like, I like it and I'm willing to put money on the table for it, versus I like it, it's not for me, good luck, right? Like, so obviously that person's not your customer. So like helping them be patient enough or be disciplined enough, and not, it's the delusion of like, I got this idea, it's going to change the world. Okay. Like, and like, let me put some like discipline scaffolding around that.
You have to discover, discover.
And it's a never ending process. Like once you get past it, once you start doing that, like customer discovery is the watermark behind every company, right? Like you're constantly iterating, constantly like, what does our customer want now? What is this? Maybe this other tech over here was created, and so this feature we have is obsolete. So that means a certain sect of our customer base is obsolete. So like we need to do customer discovery. What is it that people are asking for? What is it? It's the age-old issue of the salesperson and the dev person in argument of saying, salesperson's like, I need this to sell it, right? And the dev person like trying to like unpack like, okay, well, this is what it would take for us to do that. Like, are you saying that they would just like this idea? This is a nice feature to have? Or are you saying like, we're legitimately having more customers? Because if I build this, right, and it doesn't go that way, right? So I like the salespeople and dev people are frenemies. They're like, they both want the same thing, but but they're coming at it different. Like, let's make sure that like this is it's something that customers want.
It's a wonderful little dance, so to speak. All right, so I've asked you almost everything I wanted to ask, except a few more things. Like you talk about validation. Did we get into that? Like, what is that's early on, right? The validation
Of what? Validating what?
Somebody's business at an early stage.
Yeah,
That's
and I think
just the customer discovery.
Yeah, and that's customer like validating. If you have customers who are naming a problem, naming a desire, naming a pain point, and you have a product to fix it or meet that need, and the customer's like, yes, and I'll pay for it because I see the value proposition that you're selling me. Yeah, you're validating your idea. You're validating it.
Okay. And what did you say about like you're not going to get into that big thing. Can you?
Yeah, I can fly over something.
Can you fly over?
Yeah.
The 3 different components that kind of overlap that you were telling me between. You know what I'm talking about? You gave me a sheet, and we can throw that sheet up, on the video while you're talking.
You're talking about the vision, structure.
Yeah. The vision, the structure, the people. Yeah.
It's something that it's the framework I learned in that first job I had working with college students. There was a person in our organization who developed this 3-circle framework of visionary guide, people developer, and structural architect. And I've taken that and packaged it in a business perspective. Okay. Specifically as it relates to leaders, being a leader. And I mean, honestly, you could kind of
visionary guide.
Yeah, visionary guide. I'll use it in an analogy of like a road trip. So we have a visionary guide, structural architect, people developer. You know where we're going, right? Like if we're going on a road trip, right? I know it's called a road trip and not a destination trip, but I want to know where we're going. Like, so if we're going to The Price is Right in California and we're in Virginia, like the vision of like what we're going to go to, what we're going to experience, like that's propelling everything in the direction, right?
Okay, you convince everybody that they want to go there, they want to go.
Right. Now, structural architect is the ability to understand what are the things that's going to take for us to get there support-wise. Like, I might not want to use my friend's 1988 beater of a car because I don't think it's going to get us there, right? It's also, think Google Maps. It's also the blue line, like how we're going to get there. The structural architect, like in the willingness to pivot. Like, so you might start driving and you get to Oklahoma and tornadoes are tearing up the road, so you have to pivot.
Okay.
And the blue line changes for you, right? So the structural architect, the person who has the proficiency to be a structural architect, is the ability to create those lines and create those paths.
So the first one, the visionary guide, can keep revisiting how special it's going to be to get there.
Or where we're going.
Where we're going. Look how great it is. Look how great it is. Look how great it is.
This is what we're going to do. This is why we're going. Why? They're always answering the question why.
Okay.
Why are we doing it? Why?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Always answer the question why.
Like, why are we doing this? So when you're in the car and like someone's gotten sick and thrown up and the whole car smells like vomit now, you're like, it's only the why that's going to get you through. It's going to get you sick. It's like, this sucks.
And that's one, not personality. Is it personality?
Proficiency. So I pitch it like every great leader is proficient in all three. Not professional and not an expert per se, although I'm sure there'll be leanings of some people are better visionary guides or structural architects or people developers. One
of them is doing a constant checklist of, do we have the right automobile? Does it have enough gas? Are we ready?
Yeah, and some professions,
in case we need to change course.
And so some leaders have the proficiencies that their proficiencies lean towards that.
And what was the third one?
The people developer. And so you know where you're going, you knowing how you're going to get there. So structural architects asking how. People developers, who? Like, you're always asking who. How are we developing to get there? Who's driving? What skill sets do they need to have to be able to drive cross country? So I'll give you a quick overview. So if someone is a visionary guy, has a proficiency of visionary guide and structural architect, but not people developer, then people become resources, not humans. They're just cogs in the wheel, right? And so you burn through employees, right? And you don't care either, because you're like, this is the vision and this is how we're going to get here. This is the vision.
Yeah, whether you come or not, we're going.
We're going, right? Yeah. Exactly. And so maybe what if you're a CEO or a leader who's a people developer and a structural architect proficiency? They lean towards those. The people might feel like they're seen and developed, and they may know how to do things or how this company is structured, but they're not. It's not compelling, right? Like I think about working. I don't know. These bigger companies. They're not bad companies, but I just know that. But if I think about working at like a Chase Bank, right? Like I might work in their analytics department. So like I might feel like my boss is developing me and sees me, and they might teach me really well of how to do my job and where we're going. Not where we're going, but how to do my jobs and the structures, procedures, processes to get there. But like if you don't have a vision of like what we're doing here, it becomes less compelling. And so suddenly the vision becomes the paycheck. Like I'm here to get paid. Yeah. Right? Which becomes a tough tension, because actually you were hired to be here not for a paycheck, but to bring value to the company. So now you have this tension between, I'm here for the paycheck. No, you're here to bring value. Hopefully they connect. Okay. And the last thing
that seems pretty common then, to be a combination of the structure being there, and even if the people development is there, it's like,
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Why? And then the last one so if someone leans towards visionary guide and people developer in the Venn diagram, and they fall in that middle part, they have a vision of where they're going and why they're going there. The people feel compelled and excited to go, and they feel like they're being upskilled to get there. But you are burning out, and/or your employees are getting exhausted because every day is different. There's no process, procedure, or structure thing to like scaffolding to keep things going, right? Think about building a skyscraper, or like just even like a 5-story building without scaffolding. It's like a daunting task, right? And and worrisome of like, is it going to fall over?
Yeah.
Right. Like, is this do we have the foundation here? Like, are we lost? Like, I know we're going to California, but like, I've seen cornfields for about 3 days now. So are we? Yeah. Do we know what we're doing?
You got to believe that the small thing you've just completed is actually going to support you towards the next thing.
Correct. And so we want our leaders, we want our managers, our directors, our senior directors, our VPs, our C-suite people to have some level of proficiency in each. Again, they don't need to be a professional. In fact, it's unrealistic. You're continually trying to move to the center and build a team around you that might have different proficiencies, emphases, but not at the expense of like siloing them out.
Yeah. I can see somebody saying, that's so cool to think about. I can see a leader of a company or a manager of a division or something saying, you know what we need? We need like somebody who's just only structure. We need a hard ass to make sure these people do the right damn thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they might think that they need that, and then they put that person there like that.
Yeah. And it might be whether it's their proficiency or their bend, but it also might be a reaction to like issues in the company.
Yeah.
Like, and so you oversteer at the expense of a problem, right? Like you see companies do this all the time. They have a problem. Like you don't build structures to solve problems, because once the problem is solved, then you have this structure of like, okay, well, it's not a problem anymore. Like a perfect.
I mean, it can prevent it.
Right. Yeah. But a perfect visual of that is go to all the places that had Olympics and go look at all these $1 million structures they've built.
Yeah.
And where they're at now, and what they've. They're not even close to having the same impact. Yeah. And so they solved the problem, and everybody experienced a great thing.
Right? For rent, $500,000 per hour.
Yes.
Facility to house a giant sporting event. Yeah. That's so funny.
So that's the Cliff Notes version.
The Venn diagram Cliff Notes version of the leadership proficiencies.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you probably have to get rolling to that thing.
Yeah.
Do you have time to say what we should be? You were getting into a book that was it the book?
Yeah. You were going to ask me what are you reading at right now, or what is a book that like kind of stuck with you?
Yeah.
And again, I love frameworks. So because they give the opportunity for individuals to like lean into what they're good at or what they're passionate about. Like when we start getting too prescriptive, like we kind of like look at everyone the same, which is just not true. So there's a book called Leading from the Sandbox by Addington.
Okay.
And he has this whole idea that, and this is really into finding joy in your work. And the way that you do that is, he talks about like when you were younger, the sandbox was the one place where work and joy came together. And the only thing that had to be true for that to happen was to stay in the sandbox, like have a good framework and to get along with the people in the sandbox. And so if that was happening, you could be doing something. You could be building a castle and your buddy could be building a hole to China. But like, and you're doing work, but you're finding joy together and pursuing things.
My God, that is good.
Not at the expense of each other. So that's
because once they're in there, you see a bunch of kids in the sandbox. Yeah, if they're doing different things, they're happy to be in that sandbox. It gave them something to be working within, and it frees them up to start doing whatever they want.
Yeah, and the business principles, the overlaying, and so what does this mean for me in building my business? Well, there's 4 sides to the sandbox, right? So, and each side has a different reality. Like one is vision, one is the primary way that you're going to accomplish your vision. The third one is guiding principles. Basically, these are the things that are fireable offenses. Like these are always need to be true of who we are.
Okay.
And then the last one is culture. What culture are you building? Which is like the air you breathe in the company. And if everybody buys into the vision, the primary way we accomplish our vision, the guiding principles of the culture, then we can work and play in this sandbox in a way that is not just efficient and effective, but brings joy and efficiency.
Yeah. It's interesting to think of like the principles that we follow here, the culture, the air that we're creating that everybody's going to have. It almost seems like there's an environment sometimes that there is a right way that all of those should match, and there's a wrong way that that you should not be. But it seems like there's room for for a lot of different variations of that, as long as people agree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
like,
I mean, when you're applying,
there's not like a right culture. I don't.
Right, and culture is hard to like. It's a wispy thing you grasp at, right? That's why I like to describe it as the air we breathe, right? Like, because it's it's there, right? But it's hard to like articulate, and sometimes some businesses talk about culture, and then what they're really saying is guiding principles. Right. Okay. Right. You're like, oh,
integrity.
Yeah.
Honesty.
Or like we have a very collaborative culture, right? Like, are you saying that like your work is done always in a collaborative way, or are you saying that we work in an environment where we're okay with being interrupted because we believe that the rubbing up against each other is going to be, both are collaborative.
Okay. Yeah.
But this is more of like, the air we breathe, like the environment we live in.
It's good to say the other one often if that's what you want it to be.
Right.
Because then you could try to catch yourselves and say, hey, remember how helpful it is that we can collaborate? So remember not to scold someone for interrupting, for
right.
Remember to err on the side of helping that person out.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, you said some really cool things, and I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah,
this first one.
It was fun.
Yeah. You're pretty good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.